Hello, BookTube. Welcome back to my 2024 library tour. In this episode, I could return to my classics, canonical, modern, and contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama shelves. This is part 5. Um, this this episode and the next two are done in like a few weeks after the first 4 parts of this tour, which is why I'm wearing this shirt. I'm assuming I wasn't wearing the same shirt last time. But anyway, so these 2 videos will be filmed on June 10th. And I'm going to, I haven't quite decided, whether or not I'm going to do these as options for renaming classics, canonical, modern, contemporary fiction, poetry, and drama, or I'm just going to stick with it. But anyway, let's get on with part 5 because I do need to get on with it. So, first up is And Their Children After Them by Nicola Matthew, translated by William Ridmore. Rodamore. So this is a French novel set in the 1990s about a group of young people who have a summer together. I had a go at it a few years ago. I think it was one of the first books I ever bought because they were hauled by Steve Donahue. Next is Maybe the Moon by Armistead Maupin. This is one of his few novels that are not part of the Tales of the City series. It's about a dwarf actress who played a character rather similar to E.T. and sort of her trying to get back into the film business. Next is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry. This is possibly the greatest Western ever written, even if I don't necessarily get on with it myself. The Good Lord Bird by James McBride. I just recently bought this and have not gotten around to it yet. This is Charming Billy by Alison McDermott. It's a pretty good novel. I really enjoyed it. It's about an alcoholic who dies at the beginning, and his loved ones sort of go back over his life. Wish I could get into more of Alison McDermott's work. Next is Etudes by Friederike Mayrocker, translated by Donna Stonecipher. Wish I could get into this. I bought this just recently. Had to go at it for a poetry month and didn't quite work out. But maybe a Bill Redemption will work. Hurricane Season by Fernanda Melchor, translated by who translated you? Sophie Hughes. So I actually quite like it. It's set in rural Mexico. It's about the murder of a transgender curandero or curandera or bruja. And it was quite moving, surprisingly. I'm rather shocked that I like it as much as I do. Bridled by Emmy Mean. This is a collection of poetry that it's okay. Not one of my favorites. Next is a book that I need to have a long Bill Redemption at, and that's An Arrow's Flight by Mark Merlis. This is sort of a retelling of the late stages of the Trojan War from the perspective of Neoptolemus or Paris, the son of Achilles, who is in this setting a go-go boy. Unusually Grand Ideas by James Davis May. This is a really good collection of poetry. I really enjoyed it. I picked it up a few months ago from LSU's big yearly sale. The next batch of books are by James Merrill. First is The Changing Light at Sandover. This is his big modern epic poem that it's been a very long time since I've read it. I also have his collected poetry. This is not going how I hoped to put it. Which is back in my collection after a long absence. So I'm hoping to get to this at some point soon. Next is another collection of poetry, The Go-Go Boy Sonnets by Edmund Miller. So this is a collection of sonnets centered around the young men of the New York gay club scene of like the Go-Go Boys. And some of them are in translation. And that's quite good. Next are two books by Yukio Mishima, Acts of Worship, a short story collection that I have had in my collection for well over 20 years. And one of the last books I picked up from Book Depository, The Temple of the Golden Pavilion, which I haven't gotten around to yet. Next is a gay novel, Into by North Morgan. This is about a youngish man who has just moved to LA and is trying to find his bearings while partying and all that. Not very good. This is Please Make Me Pretty, I Don't Want to Die by Tawanda Mulalu. So this is a collection of poetry that it's okay. I've been meaning to have another go at it. This is The Moons of Jupiter by Alice Munro. One of a short story collection from 1983, the year of my birth, which is why I picked it up. A few years ago, Criminally had a Reading Your Birth Year challenge or something. And so I selected a few works that were published in the year of my birth, and none of them really worked out for me. And this one did not. Back to Poetry with a Subhuman Redneck by Les Murray. This is a fantastic collection of Australian poetry. I really enjoy it. Actually, much more than his Freddie Neptune. This is Mama Day by Gloria Naylor. This is a novel set in the coastal Georgia, about communities that have largely been mostly African American, and it has about a young woman who is returning there and her interactions with various people there. It's been a very long time since I've read it, about over 20 years. So I think I was in high school when I read it, and that's a reacquisition. This is Night Journey by Maria Negroni, translated by Anne Twitty. This is a collection of poetry. I didn't quite get on with it my first read, so maybe another read will help. This is another gay novel, These Violent Delights by Micah Nemeriver. This is basically inspired by the Leopold and Loeb case. It's about two college students in 1970s Pittsburgh who begin to basically go on a murder spree as they kind of fall in love with each other, if I remember. I did fail on it. I don't think there's anything else by him to know. Back to poetry with Frank O'Hara. This is his collected poems, um, which I read uh, decades ago and really enjoyed, but a recent reread wasn't quite as positive as I would have liked. But maybe I will go back to it. This is Gutter Boys by Alvin Orloff. This is a novel set, I think, in the 70s, or no, the 80s. I don't remember much about it. It's been a while since I looked at it. And I picked it up in, I think, San Francisco. This is The Book of Form and Emptiness by Ruth Ozeki. I have a weird, because I read her novel A Tale for the Time Being and rather liked it, I think. And I wanted to read this, and I haven't gotten on with this as many times as I've had goes at it. Next is The Black Book by Orhan Pamuk, translated by Maureen Freely. So this is one of Orhan Pamuk's novels. It's set in 80s or 90s Istanbul about a lawyer who gradually becomes a rather famous cousin. Or basically, this cousin's a columnist who's disappeared, and this lawyer begins to assume that cousin's identity. It took me a very long time to really get this book, because I had it. Because I picked it up shortly after Pamuk won the Nobel Prize in Literature, and I bailed on it then. And just this past December, I had a bill redemption of it and succeeded. And except for the ending, it is actually quite good. This is another book by Pamuk. My Name is Red, which I haven't gotten to yet. Next is a Korean gay novel, Love in the Big City by Sang-Young Park, translated, I think, by Anton Her. Yeah. So this is about a young man in Seoul who basically goes through a number of crises. It's basically, in a way, it's like 4 novellas that are kind of stitched together as a novel. I have mixed feelings for it. There are parts of this novel that I like and parts of it that I don't particularly care for. I think some of the stories probably drag on a bit too long. Back to poetry with selected poems of Giovanni Pascoli, translated by Taiji Silverman and Marina Della Puta Johnston. So this is a fantastic collection. I really like this collection. It was really good. I also really liked Within the Sweet Noise of Life by Sandro Penna, translated by Alexander Booth. This is really good as well. I really enjoyed this collection. Next is Our Man in Iraq by Robert Persich, translated by Will Firth. This one I did not get on with at all. It's about a man who gets a cousin a job as a reporter in Baghdad during war, and things go down. Next is a Kojiki, translated by Donald L. Philippi. So this is a major work of ancient Japanese literature that I have had for a very long time and I have not gotten around to yet. Next is the narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket by Edgar Allan Poe, which I'm surprised I still have. So this is an adventure novel that ends on a very weird note. Back to poetry with a brief homage to Plato and other poems by Fabio Pistorla, translated by Will Shute. This is a really good collection as well. I really enjoyed it. The next two books are by Kirsten Valdez. Kirsten Valdez Quaid. First up is Night at the Fiestas. This is her debut short story collection that is quite good, I would think. Although I did struggle with the novelization of the short story The Five Wounds, which I also have. Next is a classic gay novel, City of Night by John Ritchie. This is about a male hustler who travels around the United States from New York to Los Angeles to, I think, San Francisco and New Orleans. And it's been a very long time since I've read it, about 20 years. The next batch are all poetry. Pocket Universe by Nancy Reddy, which is quite good. Enjoying that one. Vanishing Point by Kimberly Reyes, which I didn't like as much. Then I have a selected edition of Adrienne Rich's poetry. This is selected poems 1950 to 2012. Have not gotten to yet, just recently bought it. This is Scaffolding by Elena Rivera. This is a really cool collection of poetry that it's basically a poem a day, or not quite a poem a day. But yeah, some of the poems are quite good. And finally for this shelf, Empire Falls by Richard Russo, which is a novel from 2000. It's about this guy who's running a restaurant in a declining town. I did not get on with it as well as I would have liked, although my mom read it and she quite liked it. So I might give it another attempt at some point in the future. So that concludes part 5 of Classics, Canonical, Modern, and Contemporary Fiction, Poetry, and Drama. I will be back soon with part 6. So until then, thank you, BookTube. Have a great afternoon and stay safe.